We know that President Biden can cut deals. We know that he's a man of his word.
And so I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home.
What?
And I have confidence and faith in the president in these negotiations.
Well, I guess that's our first issue now, isn't it? Howdy folks, how are y'all doing today? It's been a pretty good hot minute since I've been able to get a video out to y'all. I've been very busy working, navigating this insanity of an economy that we have right now.
Are taking blame for inflation? No.
So, been a while since I could get a good video out. But today we're here on the subject of our seemingly looming upcoming default as an American nation. And as I love to do, I think we really should just take a moment to listen in to what one of our oldest and best congressmen has to say about things. And of course, by that I mean the good old, for the people, Bernie Sanders.
Throughout the history of our country, the United States government has done what it is supposed to do. We pay our debts.
So, but here's the thing though, Mr. Bernie, we don't. In fact, if America as a nation did pay its debts, we wouldn't be in debt by something like, 31 trillion freaking dollars.
Nice.
You expect the country to have a little bit of debt, but not something like that. When the total income of the entire nation is around $1 trillion a year, we are at a debt level that's nearly impossible to pay off. We can't tax enough to match the amount of spending that we do. We are trying to have communist level spending and capitalist level taxes, where we're just throwing billions of dollars here and there just for the sake of it. Numbers don't work that way. We can't pay the debts at the rate that we're spending them.
In fact, over the past 63 years, the national debt limit has been raised nearly 80 times.
That's a really interesting point. But here's the more interesting thing is that we still keep capping out at the debt, and we are at a point now where, like I said, we literally can't pay it off. So just because we did it in the past is not a valid reason to do it again now.
And let's be clear, what the debt ceiling is about is paying money that has already been appropriated and spent. It has nothing to do with future budgets and future spending. This is simply a question of paying off what has already been spent.
You see, though, a debt ceiling is kind of like a credit limit. It's the amount of money you're allowed to borrow before people don't trust you to borrow anymore without paying back some of the old stuff. And you see, America's getting to the point right now where they can't pay back money at the rate they're borrowing it. In terms of the debt limit, I don't think anyone's saying that we don't have to pay off our old debt. The issue is that we are continuing to increase the amount of debt we have to a point that's impossible to come back from. Cut spending so we don't end up in the same situation again.
In an unprecedented and outrageous way, extreme right-wing Republicans have hijacked the debt ceiling process and have said to the American people, if we don't get our way, we are prepared to allow the United States government to default and bring our economy and the world's economy into turmoil.
No. You see, the thing is that we're capping out on our credit limit, and they want us to stop spending more money than we can get.
If the right-wing Republicans force a default, it will mean the loss of millions of American jobs.
They're willing to raise the debt limit. They're just not willing to do it exactly the way you want, which is with absolutely no spending cuts.
Under their proposals, it has been estimated that up to 21 million Americans would lose Medicaid, ripping away the health care they need to stay alive.
You are really going to make this about Medicaid, aren't you? The system that has done more harm to our medical insurance system than anything else I can think of. You see, while you're constantly talking about helping to lower the price of big pharmaceutical companies, all you ever do is tell us what we're going to pay for, force us to pay for it, and then go and use that money to pay them off anyway. So essentially, all you do is limit what our options are by paying off all of them yourselves, therefore destroying the capitalism that allows for any competition, which would result in lower prices in the economy of the medical field.
The Republicans are refusing to ask the wealthiest people in America to start paying their fair share of taxes.
And of course, we're going to go right back into your propaganda about tax the rich to feed the poor, when in reality, all the system ever does is keep the poor people poor, because the higher up the tax bracket you go, the more of your income you have to pay. And so really, it doesn't make any sense to make more than a certain amount of money because of the amount of taxes you have to pay on it. And the only people that can seem to get through the systems are the ones that are already so rich they can hire the lawyers and the loopholes, and it makes no sense for the IRS to chase them down anyway.
Further, they are refusing to cut defense spending at a time when we already spend more on defense than the next 10 nations combined.
Instead of doing something logical, like stopping stimulus checks that are flooding the economy and raising inflation constantly and helping increase our national debt, let's cut spending on the one thing that has allowed America's way of life to exist, our military that defends us, at a time where China and Russia are creating this massive coalition of nations that really hate us and want to dethrone us as the world superpower.
And they have made it clear that they are prepared to hold our entire economy hostage unless the president gives in to all of their demands. And this is something we cannot accept.
One can still argue the exact same thing about y'all. You are prepared to bring the nation to a place of default unless the Republican Party is willing to raise the debt ceiling without a single spending cut.
In my view, and the view of all of us up here, the president has the authority and the responsibility under the Constitution to make sure that we continue to pay our bills. In fact, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution clearly states, quote, it's not ambiguous, the validity of the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned, end quote.
One final thing I'd like to get into real quick is the 14th Amendment. And yes, as far as I can tell, based on the Constitution, I don't see a debt limit as strictly being constitutional. It does, as he says, state that the United States debt shall not be questioned. So I don't see why he couldn't raise the debt limit anyway or continue just borrowing as he does. But here's the thing. The rest of the world might not see it that way, and there's a good chance our credit limit is going to drop anyway. But besides all that, there's the bigger issue that this isn't really about the debt limit. The issue is not how much money we've borrowed now. The issue is the rate that we're borrowing. Currently, it is increasing constantly because we are spending money at a pace that we cannot make it. So if you want our children, our grandchildren, or even their grandchildren to see a light of day where their nation is not plunged into insanity of debt due to your insanity of spending, I suggest that if we're going to continue to raise the debt limit, we better cut some spending so that we can get this curve of debt borrowing money to start turning the other direction, and maybe we can slowly start chipping away at what we owe so that at least our national credit just doesn't collapse and the entire world see us as just extreme spenders with no regards for anything, no responsibility, and ruin our economy. Well, folks, thank you so much for watching. Sorry I don't have better news for everybody today, but sadly, that's the biggest thing that I've seen right now, and so that's the one thing I figured I got time for. I'll make a quick video on. So, like I said, I'm glad to see you all. If you guys like to stick around, hopefully I'll see you on the next one. I'm going to try to get these out at least once a week, but we'll see how things go. Hoping for the best. All right, see y'all later. Bye.